Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you. Perfect. Wow. Wow.
How was your flight?
Is it okay? Yeah. Some water. Should we start?
Yes, for sure.
Okay, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We have many people connected, which is a sign actually that the topic is raising a lot of interest within the CX community. So our topic today is customer experience and the metaverse. Customer experience is obviously important for brands, and the role of the web in the emergence of this new business model is not questioned. But as we work towards Web3 and as we sense the increasing interest and enthusiasm around it, many questions arise around the possible evolution and outcome it can bring. So what are Web3 and Metaverse? What are the opportunities and challenges for the brands? And how does the customer experience fit into this new paradigm? So we have a panel of experts today, starting with Joël, Vincent, and Ronen. I leave you the floor maybe just to present yourself, and then we can start.
So hi everyone, and thank you very much for the invitation to speak to this audience. So I'm Joël Lazan. I'm a partner and managing director in the Paris office of BCG. I lead the Web3 lab that BCG has created a few months back in order to extend the consulting services that we offer traditionally to our clients and have execution capabilities that we put at the disposal of our clients in the space of Web3, the extended space of Web3, covering NFT, Metaverse, immersive experiences. And myself, I've been working mostly in the space of fashion and luxury and automotive, where the interest for my client picked up, I would say, 12 to 18 months ago. And now we see, I would say, the appetite for brands to move into Web3, moving much more broadly to basically all consumer brands for some of the application, and basically all companies for all the enterprise metaverse type of applications that we will have the opportunity to talk about.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joël. Vincent?
Yes, so I'm very pleased to participate today and deal with the metaverse. So I am an entrepreneur and consultant, and I'm working I've been working for the last 4 years into the XR ecosystem, so which means virtual reality, augmented reality, and now the metaverse. And I'm providing consultancy services to clients to help them to use these new technologies and to get into the metaverse. So in the last few months, I launched a few webinar, trade show, business events in a virtual world, so which is dedicated to business and companies. And I have also launched a virtual movie theater to watch 2D, 3D, and 360 videos in metaverse, where you can be alone or hang out with friends and watch movies with other people in a virtual movie theater. So I'm very pleased to be here and to discuss metaverse with Joël and Ronen.
Thank
you, Vincent. I'm Ronen Melnik. I lead Comdata's Global Clients Division, serving global brands on their customer interactions, outsourcing. I also lead corporate development and the strategy at Comdata, and obviously the new technologies landscape and how we will be using the web 1.3, etc., is very relevant for many of our clients and for us as consumers. And so I think it's a great topic to discuss, I would say, early on in this uncharted yet journey. If it's okay, if we see the content that, the plan for today, and then we'll rotate amongst ourselves. And as we said, there's a chat room, and we will hopefully devote the last 5 minutes to answering some questions from the audience. There will be a few polls for the users or for the guests to form or to input your opinion, and you'll see this interactive session soon. So 5 key topics we'll be covering: Web3 and Metaverse, a little bit about definitions and how we see things, and then talking about the usage and the use cases. We'll talk about the creator economy, because this topic is an important part of what the Metaverse will or could look like, and there are a few schools of thought here, and we'll discuss that. We'll talk about opportunities for brands in the customer experience context, customer experience within the Metaverse, customer experience towards the Metaverse, and how brands should be thinking about interacting with consumers in this new exciting field. And then we'll talk a little bit about the main challenges. We're not all in the Metaverse. We're still doing this flat screen, typical Web 2 webinar, which means we still have a way to go. We'll talk about how long it will take and maybe what's holding us back. And so that's the plan for today. We can start with topic number 1 or question number 1, which is I guess a high-level definition about Web3 and the Metaverse. Joël, please. No, you're on mute.
Sorry, yes. So let me start with maybe a few definitions and what is the ecosystem that we call Web3. Web3 is a new version of the internet. So we've had Web 1, Web 2, first generation, second generation, and now we're moving from the second to the third. The first generation of the internet was about reading. So it was about offering information that the users could read and benefit from. The second generation was social. It was about not only reading, but also being able to write, to contribute to content, and to interact socially. The third generation builds on the first two and adds a new component, which is ownership. You can create assets, own those assets, they can be authenticated, and you can trade them. And the major unlock to this is the blockchain technology, which is the infrastructure behind it, that allows people to own and prove the ownership and trade and exchange money for those assets. So as we move from the second generation of the internet to the third generation of the internet, if we have a look at what happened historically, maybe two things. First, there's been a bubble in the first generation of the internet, the dot-com bubble at the beginning of the year 2000. And it's legitimate to ask ourselves today, are we at the beginning or in the middle of a potential bubble? Question number one. Question number two, when we moved from the first generation to the second generation of the internet, some players disappeared, some players appeared. The one who disappeared, AOL, we don't hear about them a lot. And some appeared, Facebook, for example, Airbnb, Amazon, all of those people actually gain traction in the change from Web 1 to Web 2. The answer to that question is most likely there will be new winners emerging and some people disappearing. So we're talking about something major, and that is why we see Facebook rebranding it to Meta. We see Microsoft investing into gaming or investing into digital wallets like MetaMask. So we see the established Web 2 player fearing that their position could stumble and investing massively into Web 3. And in that game, probably Amazon and Google are the ones that are a bit lagging behind. And to the question of the bubble, I would tell you, I don't really, and sorry for the language, I don't really care, because if I look historically at what happened during the first generation of internet, yes, we had a bubble. Yes, value was destroyed when the bubble burst, but still our life changed a lot if we compare what was our life before and what is our life after. And so I believe that the discussion that we should have today is what are the underlying parameters that are fundamentally changing and that will that should make of Web3 a real cultural and economical revolution. If I go to the definition, I would try to put it very simply into three layers. There is a first layer, which is identity. In the current version of the web, identity is defined by our email address or our phone number. And if I want to complement and pay, I use my credit card or Apple Pay or whatever payment services. This is a bit scattered and this is not very secured. Web3 offers a brand new solution to that. Digital wallets like MetaMask, where you identify yourself in a much more secure way. It's also at the same time much more transparent. That's the principle of blockchain technology. Whatever transaction you do, whatever operation you do is recorded on the blockchain and transparent, and everybody can have access to it, but much more anonymous because you can hide the link between your identity and the codes of your wallet. So first layer, having an identity, much more secure, much more anonymous. Second layer, once you have a wallet where you can have your identity and store money, you can have belongings. You can own digital assets. Those assets can be pieces of art. They can be digital wearables, things you would put on your avatar. They can be tickets for a concert. That concert can be virtual or physical. They can be loyalty cards. They can be every form of digital asset you may imagine. They can be virtual pieces of land for some metaverse platform that are offering that. It can be a lot of stuff. But you can have your own belongings in your own wallet. And because they are authenticated, unique, they can be traded. And because you can manage scarcity, because of the authentication of those assets, if I create 10 pieces of something, there will never be 11, they cannot be copied, then I can manage, with the scarcity, I can manage value. And people can believe in the idea that those assets have value because there are a finite number of them, which is the exact opposite of the philosophy of the second generation of the internet, where, and the first and the second, which was about abundance. Everything could be copied. Everything was available in an infinite version of copy, an infinite number of versions. And now we're creating ownership, so scarcity and value in the digital space. And the metaverse is the third layer. It's the experience layer. So you have an identity, you have belongings, and then with your identity and your belongings, you want to hang out somewhere. You want to go and meet friends, live experiences, go into immersive experience, go into virtual world. That's the metaverse. That's the experience you will have with your digital self, your digital identity, and their belongings. So that's really, I would say, the layers that are fundamentally changing between the internet that we know now and I have an identity, I have belongings, and I immerse myself into a three-dimensional type of interface.
We have a question for the audience. It'll pop up in a second, and you will have 30 seconds to give your view. And this is just to, one, get everybody awake after lunch, and two, it would be interesting to see how people are thinking about this. And the question, and it'll pop up in a second, I think. The question is, considering what we've just heard and Joel's work and what everybody is doing, how soon is this? So there's a lot of excitement. All of you registered. We know, recently published that everybody is searching for Metaverse. How soon will this happen? Less than 5 years, 5 to 10 years, more than 10 years, or this will never happen. And I think if you click vote, then you can choose one of these. Do we have it open? Is there a timer? Polls, okay. There should be a button, polls, and you should see the question and the potential answers. Still live. I see the percentages changing. It's like the French election in real time. Laura, can you just ping when the poll is over?
I think you can go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, it seems still people figuring it out. Wait. 48% of the people think it's close to us, which is less than 5 years. Very interesting. 38, 5 to 10 years, and I guess few people think it's going to be in 10 years or more, 11%. And this will never happen. The skeptics, there are 4% of you out there that think it's never going to happen. But still, please wait until the end of the webinar. In any case, okay, that is interesting. This is there's a quote from Bill Gates, I think, from '86, that people overestimate the short term and underestimate the long term. For sure.
Can I react to the poll?
Please, yeah, absolutely.
I think you can define the metaverse as a moment in time. I think Citibank did that. You can also look at the metaverse as a progressive shift that will be the shift where people will spend more and more of their time online and will care more and more about their online identity their online belongings and their online experiences and fun and socializing, etc. And in a way, if you think about the time you spend on social media today, the time you spend chatting on WhatsApp, etc., etc., the share of interactions that we have in a digital manner is already really high. The way we present ourselves digitally is already something important. And if you imagine that the younger generation, people from 10 to 25, let's say, are now spending less time on social media and much more time gaming using platforms like Roblox, where they spend several hours per day, mostly playing and socializing, being somewhere, hanging out with their friends, talking with their friends, etc., then I think, the transition is not going to be next year, in 5 years, or in 10 years. It's going to be a progressive shift where people who are 15 years old today will become 20, 25. People will start gaming more and more and using gaming as a natural social interface, and caring more and more about who they are, what's their identity virtually. So I would say I could not have answered the question you have asked.
It is a great entry into the second topic, which is what's going to drive individual adoption in immersion. So we already know that gaming is big, Fortnite is big, Roblox is huge. We're talking hundreds of millions of users, and from the teenagers I know, 4 hours is on the low side, and so this is already here. The question is, in order for all of us not to wait until the 15-year-olds get to our age, which is about 40, let's see if there are other use cases. And so, Vincent, if you want to talk about what are people doing, so what are companies, entrepreneurs, where are the efforts?
Yeah, and I agree with Joel. I think it is already at this time we are already into the metaverse at different stages. And when you think about Pokemon a few years ago, when you think about the filters with Snapchat, this is already augmented reality into our world, where we can connect with other people, where we could have fun, where we could entertain. And now something new is coming with a video game, and with Fortnite, you can play with other players in a 3D environment. But what you could do also is you could attend to a concert. So there was a very famous concert with Travis Scott, and there were many people who attended to the concert in Fortnite. And there were also another concert more recently in VR Chat, which is one of the other virtual world quite famous. And it was with Jean-Michel Jarre, and he was playing with an avatar in a virtual world. So there is something which is coming and becoming more and more popular. And if you think about the business side, there are now companies who organized their seminars in virtual world. Because of COVID, they could not attend physically, so they decided to move into a virtual world to create an event, a virtual event with all the people, so they have the feeling to get connected, and they could be connected with avatars. And we did an event for a company, and we had 98% of satisfaction. People were happy to meet together in a virtual world, to hang out. And it was very funny because at the end of the day, there were groups of people chatting together with their avatars, playing together with their avatars, and doing work session with their avatars. And it was like a normal company seminar. And we did also a trade show in a virtual world, and we noticed that you could get the same connection with people as you would do in a physical trade show, and you could have the same interactions, and it was very profitable for the company because it was less expensive to organize, and they had a great value at the end of the day. So the metaverse is coming. We are now talking more about virtual worlds, and the next challenge is to connect all the virtual worlds to make it a unique environment, which we could call the metaverse.
In keeping also with the time, I want to talk about it, an important element, as you said, web. People are talking about one of the differences between Web 3 and Web 2 is what's referred to as the creator economy. So decentralization, creation economy. If Joel, if you want to a little bit introduce the topic, and then we can have a quick discussion.
I think the shift is from the attention economy to the creator economy. So attention economy was people fighting or companies fighting to get a share of attention in your brain. So assuming that each consumer is willing to spend a certain number of hours per day looking at a screen, the screen can be a TV, the screen can be a desktop or a phone, then advertisers are putting as much as possible content in front of you, expecting that you will pick their brand. That is over, or that is coming to an end, because the productivity equation behind the attention economy, where basically things were supposed to be for free. So it's free to look at TV, it's free to scroll Instagram, but actually, there is an economic model behind where people are paying to get, where companies are paying, brands are paying to get a share of your attention. The digital advertising content is increasing by 20% per year, while the share of people's attention that is dedicated to scrolling on digital interfaces is stable or declining for the younger generations, meaning there is a dead end in the economic model that Google and Facebook, mostly 2/3 of the attention economy in the Western world, their model is coming to an end. At the opposite, the creator economy means brands or individuals can create assets, can create experiences, and thanks to the blockchain, because people can have digital belongings, they can sell their services or they can sell their products. And so we don't have to make you believe that you will play a game for free, and because of the time you will spend, we will try to put advertising somewhere and it will be for free, but actually we will be trying to selling you stuff. We can actually create business models that are much more transparent, and where the people who are creating the experiences, and it can be a brand, it can be an editor creating a game, or it can be, individuals trying to share their content. It can be musicians who for now are offering their music in all-you-can-eat bundles on Spotify. Every relationship between someone who creates content or experience and their users can be monetized directly in a very transparent way. That's beneficial on both sides. That's beneficial for the users. They know what they are paying for. There is no trap. And that's also beneficial for creators, because first, they can engage with their communities. So if I'm a musician and I create a smart contract that allows my fans to own the royalties of my future releases, me as an artist and my community, we have our futures linked together. So we are together responsible for the collective success of the project, which is something totally revolutionary. So first, you can engage your community in much richer ways. And also for the small creators, there is an opportunity to monetize your activity, which was totally impossible in the previous generation of the internet, where central platforms were giving a very strong advantage to the most renowned artists. So unless you were a major musician, there's no way to make money on Spotify. If on the Web3 you are a more modest musician, there will be a way to animate your community and make money out of it.
If you want to spend one more minute, Joel, just explaining the framework.
Yeah. So here we're
just put on the screen, just to.
Yeah. So here we're talking about metaverse platforms, and we're separating. So let's call a metaverse platform a place, a virtual environment where you have an avatar, you do something and interact with other avatars. So it's a social place. By Web 2 and Web 3, we say Web 3, those platforms are based on the blockchain. So this is the creator economy. Web 2 is the attention economy. When you are in a metaverse platform which is based on the blockchain, first, I mean, the model that those guys have chosen, for example, Sandbox and Decentraland, the land is for sale. So in order to create an experience for someone, you need to own a piece of land where you will build your headquarters, your office, or whatever. So we, BCG, bought a place in Decentraland so we could build our office. And this is a creator economy because, and this is a multiple layer creator economy. The first level is Decentraland sold me a piece of land, which is like if Facebook had sold me a piece of their landing page. It's mine. And if I own a place which is next to the Samsung headquarters, it will be, my building will be next to the Samsung headquarters for every people who will come to visit me or will come to visit Samsung. So there is no way for Decentraland to monetize the attention of the people walking in front of my building or in front of the other building and personalize the experience because you assume that this people is like the other one, and so after the Samsung building they would like to see the Apple building. No, this is not possible. So there is no hidden advertising model that will personalize the experience. The experience will be the same for everyone, like if you walk into the street. And so those companies, Sandbox and Decentraland, because they started by selling the land for hundreds of millions, they don't need to have a different revenue model that will imply selling the attention of the users. They already have an upfront operating model, revenue model, which is we sell lands and you need to buy the land in order to create experiences. And then so that's layer number one. Layer number two, myself. Once I have this experience, which is, so for BCG, it's an office, but for brands, it could be a shop. It could be an immersive experience that will show the purpose of a brand. It can be a lot of stuff. It can be education. You can come and have trainings, etc. You can sell those experiences. You can sell products. Those products are virtual products or are a link to your e-commerce website for digital product. And I would say the barrier to entry to create those experiences is very low. It's a few tens of hours of coding to be able to create those experiences that people will be interested in or not, depending on if you do good or not. But the barrier for a creator to own a piece of land, create an experience, monetize it, and attract people, it's actually possible for everyone. And the chance that you emerge as a successful experiences that consumer will come and visit is much more higher than if you try to attract people on your Instagram profile, because if you're not a superstar on Instagram, it's very difficult to get through. Here, because it's just about wandering around, walking, and word of mouth type of recommendation, it's much more possible for creators to attract people and monetize that attention.
I want to move. Go ahead, Vincent.
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity, because it's also a way to target this new audience who grew with Pokemon Go or Snapchat and social networks. And it's true, this young generation is now using cryptocurrency and virtual worlds quite easily. So it's a great way to meet this audience, this generation, and provide them with services. So it's a good way to expose your brand to the new generation that will get used to go into Metaverse to work, to entertain, to educate, to work. So I think this is why today many different brands, luxurious brands, but also brands like McDonald's or Carrefour are going into the virtual world to settle there and to reach the audience. And if you think about McDonald's, they bought different licenses to be able to set up restaurants into the virtual world to provide services that you could get in the physical world or in the virtual world. So tomorrow you could think to go to a virtual McDonald's restaurants to buy your burgers.
It's before we jump into the opportunities for brands, I want to ask the audience just launching another quick poll to make sure everybody is awake, and to say to ask what are the likely applications. So you individual listening to us now, thinking about this, and I'm sure not for the first time, what is it that you think that's going to be pulling people like you into the metaverse as described here? And so I think the poll is live now, and you can choose gaming, art, and entertainment. These two things are already there. So this is to me an easier one. Then the question is around shopping, education, work, online socializing. Where do we see the spike? And so I think the poll is live. Let's wait for 30 seconds to see what we get. And then we will continue to the topic of brands. Wow, very interesting.
So tell us more.
Yeah. It is okay. So the results. I don't know if everybody can see the screen and the bars like we can, but 22% or the top use cases for work. So virtual workspaces and networking. The next one is education, and then art and live entertainment, and fourth place gaming at 15% of the audience.
And it's very interesting because when you think about the different activities, there are activities we could not do normally during the COVID. And I really believe that the COVID accelerated this transition to the metaverse, either to work, to educate, or for art and live entertainment.
I agree. I think we've learned to be friends more remotely in front of a screen, and so we used to think that friendship is only built or educated or any of these is only in presence, and the telepresence is here. It's very interesting. It also reflects probably the age profile of this group, because at 15% gaming, if you ask my son, he wouldn't even get to the education line. But art and live and gaming. So this is if we believe, we take the previous question, this is happening within 5 years, and work and education. Let's join together and build a university in a sandbox or somewhere.
And there is a very big economical interest behind those two use cases, because
of course,
Mark Zuckerberg claims, and we will soon see if he's right or not, that the next use case of Metaverse is work productivity. And he believes that coders would gain 5 to 10% productivity if coding in virtual environment. And obviously, if you believe in this type of productivity potential, every tech company in the world should equip their developers with virtual reality headsets and promote the usage. And once you do that, it means that people have VR headsets just like they have a phone, and they can bring it back into their personal life, and fostering much faster adoption. And same for training. It is said, but who knows for now, that being in an immersive space rather than being distracted by everything around you improves the quality of learning by 30 to 50%. Don't ask me about the quality of the source, but let's be curious and see where it could lead us.
I think,
and
as we move to, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, there is another point which is interesting with virtual reality and augmented reality. It will stimulate different areas of your brain, and the areas dedicated to memory and emotion. And it is demonstrated now that if you have a great experience in VR, you will remember it quite longer. And if you go now to the education part, you will learn more quickly and more efficiently than in the real world. So this is probably why education is is developing so fast in the metaverse and the virtual reality. And it will be the same with the work, because if you are in a great environment, it will stimulate your emotions, and you will be more you will be better at work, and it will improve your efficiency and the profitability of the company.
I agree. I think in thinking of brands and how they can participate and what are the, let's say, questions or short-term questions. One, just to frame brands, let's think of companies like HSBC, like AXA, like Generali, like Adidas, like Nike, Prada, Decathlon, Lego, Club Med, Alfa Romeo. And I put these because sometimes, because we're dealing with this technology, people are necessarily thinking of brands like Google and real world, let's say old economy brands. Let's put a frame around this. There's something about digital goods to use in the metaverse. Okay, a virtual hamburger is an example, but it could be the clothes, and it could be the shoes, and it could be the real estate and the building, etc. This is one layer. The second one is the metaverse is a point of interaction with consumers to sell real goods. And so you go into a metaverse McDonald's and you press order, but it shows up at your door. Or I am applying in a virtual HSBC branch, or not virtual, in the metaverse HSBC branch for a mortgage for my real home, not for my home or my real estate. Okay, so these are taking goods and services and creating interactions, and this I think is exciting because we had physical banks, we went to online banks. Okay, there's a metaverse bank with cryptocurrency, with everything else that's being built in the process. And then the third layer from a customer experience perspective, and we should not forget this, risk of data, we talk to millions of people every day. Getting there, operating the metaverse, it doesn't work. I can't find this, I can't find that. It's this password, it's that password. The basic things that we take for granted and maybe the teenagers are experts at. If we think this is a massive shift, and we will have a big portion of the population on the metaverse with the 3D glasses, there's a lot of things to resolve in terms of the experience of how to get there, how to experience the metaverse, tech support, identity support, complaints, etc. Right? I bought if I'm buying a virtual Club Med vacation on the metaverse, that's one thing. If I'm going into a Club Med next to the Samsung building and the BCG building, there's a Club Med sales office, and I'm looking at 3D images of my next vacation in Tenerife. Now I went to the vacation and I don't know, the room was too small or something. Do I go back to the metaverse? Do I go back to the call center? Do I go back to the website of how do these things merge together? I think is the evolution of, let's say, the customer interaction and the experience with these brands. Joel, when you talk to clients, you talk about digital or physical. How do people think about this?
I think we talk about both, and we talk about the opportunity to bridge the two. I think, in general terms, we're talking about three types of opportunities with brands. One which is about creating new type of experiences, and I would say this form of opportunity is more of a media type of opportunity. And if we make the assumption that navigating into a brand universe in an immersive way, with playful experiences, gamified experiences, is better than scrolling a two-dimensional website, then the opportunity for any brand who's looking for differentiation is huge. And that can go up until those experiences can lead until the end of the funnel, which is purchasing of digital good or purchasing of virtual good. But for all the brands, so especially the high-end brands who have been complaining for 10 years that it's much more difficult to differentiate themselves on the web, especially with the ease of use of Amazon that gives you everything in 2 clicks, blah, blah, blah. So now we're reopening the door. We're reopening the door to magic. We're reopening the door to differentiated experiences. And I think this is very cool because it gives a lot of hope in the ability for creative people to make a difference and market better. The second thing where we see the bridge between physical and digital, I think, is new engagement models. Because when I was talking about digital identity and wallets, belongings, etc., then owning an NFT can be a way to personalize an experience, can be a gate to a membership club, can be a gate to a community. Because if you have it in your wallet, then it can give you access to several services that are only possible for those who own this given NFT, and those services can be physical or digital. And if I look at it, I would say today for the people, especially educated in the US, so certain demographic of people between 15 and 25, NFTs and Metaverse have been able to create the most exciting communities people want to belong to. And this is something that is making brands jealous, because the things that people are looking for, are willing to have, are craving to have when they are 15 to 25, is what culturally will remain relevant for them when they become adults. And that's the game that brands now need to play into, which is they don't want to leave Bored Ape communities, sandbox games, be the things that young adults and teenagers want to belong to. They need to play into that game. And obviously, yeah.
No, go ahead. I'm conscious of time. I wanted to
the third type of use cases we're looking at, new business model, basically two things: virtual products, virtual services, and also play to earn, which is key. So guys, I encourage you to download and use StepUp, which is a move to earn Web3 and Metaverse application. So when you go for a run, when you go for a walk, it earns you tokens. That's something Nike should have invented, Adidas should have invented, because it's a way for it would have been a way for a brand to express their purpose. Nike should not be about selling products. It should be about encouraging you to have physical activity and to become an athlete. And with the metaverse, with NFT, with Web3, you can go up until conveying your purpose to the last mile. And I will stop here.
And maybe, I wanted to jump onto the experience, because all brands are looking for great experience to offer to their customers. And this is where Metaverse is great, because you can create unlimited experience, and you can create something that is not possible in the physical world. And this is extremely important for brands. This is where they could express themselves. They could differentiate from other brands. And a few of luxury brands started to do that, like Gucci in a virtual world, to create a great experience. And at the end of the day, it was to sell a bag, and the bag was sold as an NFT, and then it was sold and resold several times. And at the end, it was more expensive than the physical bag. So this is a way to stimulate imagination, to stimulate awareness, to stimulate attractiveness of the brand. And this is possible because we have unlimited possibilities in the virtual reality.
We have a question from the audience, which I think plays into the last topic for today, which is, current hardware seems to be still a barrier in terms of power, capabilities, comfort, cost. This is general without discussing one device over the other. What are your thoughts around how much is the 3D equipment a barrier? One, and two, if there are other barriers. People always mention interoperability as a big barrier, taking my hat from Roblox into Fortnite and then into the sandbox, etc. So interoperability, self-regulation, regulation, not in the legal term, but how do we control misbehavior? Do we care about misbehavior? Who defines what the misbehavior is? All of these things that people mention when they think that if we were all be in this virtual world, what's that going to look like?
So I think, let me take a shortcut at this one. I think in terms of device and hardware, depends if we talk about computing power or if we talk about virtual reality headsets. The metaverse adoption will be much quicker than the adoption of virtual headsets, and we should not, and brands who want to play into that should not look only at virtual reality use cases, because I don't believe personally that we will want to spend 6-8 hours per day with a virtual reality headset in front of us. It will be limited to a few hours. Not everybody will have one. And by the way, it is not a future, I hope, that we would spend several hours per day isolated in a virtual world where we cannot interact with the people around us. So that's question number one. And by the way, all the metaverse platforms that we have talked about have a desktop version. Some of them have a mobile version, and some of them don't even have a virtual reality version. So virtual reality and metaverse are two different, one is a technology, one is a concept. There are two different things, and there is obviously an overlap, but not so much.
Yeah, and I agree. We should differentiate. There is a difference between a 3D world where you can access from any computer and an immersive virtual world where you can access with a VR headset. And main of the experiences today are done with a normal computer that everybody has at work or at home.
There's a question from the audience I think is interesting, which is if we are talking about the age bracket of 50 to 25, and we can think that over the years this is moving in, and it'll take 50 years for them to become 70. Is this how to think about things like healthcare, where the big portion of the need is 50 plus? If you just look at the demographics and the demand, and I think this will be this will not replace. It's internet didn't replace all the branches. We still have stores, we still have bank branches, and we have online. And the mobile didn't replace the internet. And I think the metaverse is an evolution of maybe the web experience, and maybe there's some of the economic models behind it. But as Comdata, we get faxes.
Yeah.
Right? People still use fax. People order wine using cutting from the newspaper and sending a fax, even mail. And so I don't think this is anytime soon replacing things. I think that
I think
some of the brands
as additional opportunities, but not replacing anything.
Absolutely, and there is a segmentation, which is obviously the early adopters. What they're interested in is where the attention should be, because it's going to be a while until we have 2 billion using the metaverse. I think we ran out of time. I'm looking if there are any last-minute questions we should be addressing. I think we've covered the topic. It's by no means a conclusion. It's exciting to be at this, I would say, early days. This is something that was announced and started being discussed, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, and now more and more people are understanding what this is about. And there's no, I think, right or wrong answer. I think in terms of customer experience and brands and interactions, one, to be aware that not everything is defined yet. Right? We don't know eventually which exact model will be, and there's some big players that are pulling in different directions. And so I think the jury's still out exactly which platform and which precise economic model. But the trend, I think the trend is there, and experimenting for sure is relevant, and talking about this because at least judging from our sample, it'll happen. Right? We may get this wrong by 5 years, but it's coming. And with that, I want to thank
you very much.
Thank Vincent, thank the audience. I hope you enjoyed this, and we look forward to hosting you in another webinar.
In a virtual environment.
In a virtual environment.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Mehdi and Laura, for organizing it, and we'll see you all soon.